Hey, it's Aaron the Metal Theologian. Alright, I'm kind of winging it a little bit actually. I was going to make a video last night, I didn't know what to talk about, but I think I have some bullshit to talk about. For one thing, I'm going to bring the sodas back a little bit, because I just kind of feel like it. And I'm going to kick that off with one that actually isn't a soda at all. But, yeah, first of all though, we're listening to... It's funny, there are a couple of records that I kind of want to hype during this video, but this isn't really one of them. This is just one where I'm pretty confident I won't get like a copyright claim on it or anything, you know? Because I like to keep my shit not monetized, you know? If you see a fucking ad on the video, 9 times out of 10 that's not my fault. I try. Anyway, this is Atlan. And it's such, they're like a, they're like a third or fourth tier German band. They're fun. I mean, and they're fun because they're 4 mustaches. Look at that. And they're all the same, they're 18 and you can just barely grow one. That's part of why I find these mustaches so endearing, you know? When I lived in Germany in the 80s, that's kind of what 16, 17, 18-year-olds look like, you know what I mean? That and the hair that's sort of, maybe not quite a mullet, but it's shorter in the front than in the back, you know? Kind of glad that when I had mine long, I just grew the whole fucking thing out. But man, I got something on this thing too. That sucks. Oh, whatever. You can wipe the shit off. It's no big deal. Anyway, this band was so important that they were on the Earthshaker label. The guys at Earthshaker, they heard this and they were like, "Holy fuck, we gotta sign Atlan." Actually, so the big mystery for me, I've actually known about this band for a long time. I wasn't a fan back in the day, but I remember when I was in high school, a friend of mine found a copy of this at a local shop and bought it because she thought it looked funny. And, yeah, and I thought the name was wrong or something at first. I was like, what the fuck is that? So I actually took the trouble to look it up. And I couldn't actually even find it in English, an answer. Apparently, though, that came from a Perry Rhodan novel. And I don't know if you know about Perry Rhodan. I know very little about Perry Rhodan. I mean, next to nothing, right? But it's it's actually one of the longest running science fiction series in the world. But it's only existed in Germany. So in the English speaking world, it's virtually unknown. But there have been all sorts of different series. It's enormous universe built out. And they started publishing this shit in I want to say 1961. So it's impressive, you know? Talk about impossible lore, though, right? I mean, how the hell do you keep up with something after that many years? Anyway, Atlan's kind of a fun band. I kind of go back and forth with them. If I'm in a good mood, I'm like, yeah, man, this shit's good, you know? When I'm in a grumpy mood, it might piss me off, but I'm in a little bit of a grumpy mood today, and quite possibly might be a little bit more acerbic because of that. But this is still sounding really good right now, so what the hell? So, yeah, so let me bust this open, actually. Fuck, and I actually need a straw. It's funny, I kind of hate straws. I almost never use them. But, this is one of these fucking canned bubble teas. We're starting out with the original. I think I did these, a while back. But, I've got a couple other, flavors. But we're starting with the original flavor first, so. It says it's a Taiwan classic. And I'm kind of pumped because I had a really good, boba, tea when I was in New York visiting Spencer not too long ago. And I'm sure this is going to be nowhere near as good. I'm actually shaking it without actually checking if I should shake it. I'm sure it's not carbonated, but sometimes these things don't like you to shake them anyway, if there's fermentation or something going on. One of the most interesting sodas I ever had, actually, was, when I was still living in San Francisco, I found this Indonesian, fermented orange soda. I was like, what the fuck is it gonna taste like? And I was like, is it gonna taste like liquor? Is it gonna taste like fucked up orange juice? I was like, it tasted like fermented orange soda. It was really weird because it was actually really good. So hopefully the straw will help the little bubbles come through because barely. If you get one of these from a shop, it has those little tapioca balls in it, right? And those things are bigger, so this thing will work with a smaller straw, but even so, they're kind of getting stuck in there, and it's kind of weird. This has a lot more of a tannic taste than I expected, actually. I mean, it's definitely sweet. And it's definitely milky, so it's like what you kind of get to expect with a bubble milk tea drink. But it has more of that sort of black tea, like sort of bite. You know, the tannin, and what I expected in this thing. So I'm a little bit surprised. Man, straws are so fucking weird. Have you ever had one of these before? You really ought to try one. I mean, try a good one. And don't choke on the little things. Apparently they're choking hazards, like if you're an infant and shit. So like if you're an infant and you're watching this, then first of all, you're doing something with my analytics, because I don't think anyone under the age of 35 watches my fucking videos. No, that's not true, because Merciful Metal, I don't even know if he's 25 yet, and he watches my videos, so. Cheers to Thomas over at Merciful Metal. It's a really weird drinking experience. You know what it's kind of more like? Than like the tapioca bubbles that you get if you get these like at a real shop. God, I don't know if anyone is gonna know what the fuck I'm talking about. But there are these other Chinese drinks that have like these little jelly cubes in the bottom. Like you can get like basil seed ones that have little seeds that are coated that come up. But the ones that I'm really thinking of are like the little jelly cube ones. I can't remember what flavor those came in. But it's kind of a little bit more like that consistency, like a little bit more firm, but also really easy to chew. Like they give right away. It's not like a or any shit like that, you know? It's really pretty pleasant. It's only 143 calories in here, which is less than a Coke. So no, a Coke is 140. It's less than a Pepsi though. So yeah, Atlan, man. So I got a couple of little housekeeping things here. First of all, I talked about AC/DC last time and how I've been on this big kick, but and you know, I went out and bought a copy of Chris in Australia. Chris Rankin sent me a flick of the switch. But I went out and bought a copy of, God, which one was it? It was another, obvious one. I already had For Those About to Rock, Fly on the Wall, and Blow Up Your Video. Maybe there was another one. But I was in fucking Walmart, the day after I uploaded that. And I was like, you know something? I'm going to take a look and see if they have a copy of The Razor's Edge over there. So I can, check it out with my fucking, laundry detergent and shit. And I didn't see that one, but I did see this one. The very one that I was saying I didn't think I could handle. And you know something? I played this a couple times since I got it, and it's really a fantastic record. So I know this is one of the channels you come to when you want to hear about bands like Atlan, you know what I mean? And what's some other obscure gem no one's heard of? And AC/DC is the obvious shit to talk about. But man, I really love this fucking record. Yeah, some of these songs, I don't know. I don't really hate any of them as a thing. That's really the thing that surprised me. I thought that You Shook Me All Night Long, or What Do You Do for Money, Honey, or Let Me Put My Love Into You. God, these titles. You know, I thought that some of these might just sort of annoy me, and it really doesn't, man. And you know the song Hell's Bells, which is probably the third most heavily played song on this after Back in Black and You Shook Me All Night Long. I love that song, man. I'm not tired of that at all, you know? If you know how many times they ring the bell in that song, you get 10 points. You can tell me that in the comments if you don't have anything else to say. So yeah, man, here we go. It's also the first time I ever bought a record at Walmart. Just seemed like a funny thing to do. I was buying fucking frozen pizzas and the fucking AC/DC record. And it was less than 20 bucks, by the way. I left that part out. I was like, maybe I should get a copy of the new one, because I actually haven't heard Power Up. They wanted $35 for that. I was like, fuck you. If And there's a big if. If I'm gonna spend $35 on a fucking AC/DC record, it's gonna be at a real record store, not a fucking Walmart. You know what I mean? But yeah, man, there we go. So the joke's on me. Yeah, and speaking of the joke being on me, man, I was watching I was actually watching Hell's Bells, the God, it's just so weird. It's like the sugar is unevenly distributed in there too. It's like that sip just now is a lot sweeter than like the first ones I was talking about earlier. Anyway, I can't believe I never figured this out before. I was watching Hell's Bells, which is like created by like Real 2 Real Ministries. And like, I've actually had it in the background a couple of times in the videos. I'm not trying to like flex on my Isaac stats or anything like that. Cause you know, I just play Afterbirth, but you know, fuck it. Yeah, there's my save file. So this is kind of my best runs there. You can see with Judas there that like in hard mode, like I got through the boss rush and beat Delirium. I actually did that in a single run. So I'm no expert at this shit. Like you gotta watch Northern Line for that. But that's what I've been doing during COVID. I was gonna like read books and like do all this other shit, and instead I put like 750 hours into Isaac. So yeah. But anyway, I was watching this fucking video, and there was like a little clip from the video for Peace Sells. And I was like, holy shit. And I realized that one of the things that's always bothered me about Dave Mustaine, and like with his personality, which is also like bothersome, just like the fuck that he's such a prick and all that, right? And in fact, like when he went religious, like he did it exactly the way that like was appropriate for Dave Mustaine, because he didn't become like a fucking like, you know, a progressive Christian or like, you know, a guy who's like, listen, we got to be feeding the poor and shit. No, he went total like anti-gay, like fucking right-wing in the most odious way, like the really kind of obnoxious kind of shit, and he's like sanctimonious about it. And like, given what a prick he is, that's like exactly what we would expect. Like in a way, I kind of have to salute him for that, you know what I mean? So here's the thing about Mustaine though, that's always fucking bugged me that I just figured out. That fucking pouty fucking face he always makes. Now you can't blame him for like the way the lips he was born with. You know, I kind of have, you know, I've got some lip going on too. I'm not exactly Mr. fucking masculine. You know, you can't even see him, but like, it's even more like in this picture. Look at that shit. Like that fucking Jim Morrison shit he's doing. You know, he's doing it. It's just like the fucking glam bands. In every single picture, Dave's like, you know, making his fucking little faces and shit. Maybe that's why it's so much trouble, like, accepting them into, like, the big four, except for the fact that I hate that designation anyway. But, like, a while back, I, like, I thought a pretty compelling argument that, these guys weren't really a thrash band until I went back and listened to the records again and went, yeah, I guess I was kind of wrong about that one, you know. There's a fun theory to espouse, but I kind of missed. But yeah, man, fucking pouty-ass Mustaine, man. Like, the little fucking bitch he is. Made some fantastic records, and I swear, no one has ever made a better record drunk than So Far, So Good, So What. Which I've come to understand is considered kind of a shitty record by certain people. And admittedly, Anarchy in the UK... Let's put it this way. I would prefer if they'd done Eleanor Rigby over Anarchy in the UK on that record. Okay? I think that's a great record, though. But the fucking guy is still a chode. And he never lets you forget it, because every time you look at a picture of him, he's going... You know? I'm trying to get this just right. If I had a mustache, this shit would be impossible. Speaking of getting shit just right, Another one's been kind of in heavy rotation because I've been watching Marty Worm and Atlan Let's Talk Metal streams. They had King Fowley on and they were going through all the Sabbath records. And it's funny, the first one they did, it was all through the Ozzy years, but in a way I was a lot more interested in the later ones. Like you sort of get into the crappier records, the more sort of, you know, the records that are a little bit more sort of contentious among people who like that shit. I'm actually going to put on one of the records I'm going to hype. I'm probably going to get a copy, going to claim for it too, but I just can't wait to listen to it any longer. So here's the thing about Born Again, which, by the way, I was totally hostile to for a long time. Like, I came to all the post-Ozzy shit late, you know? And now my favorite records are probably the Dio records and Born Again. And it's not because metaphysically I think they're better, you know what I mean? Like, if someone comes to me and says, hey, I just started collecting records, I want to get a Black Sabbath record, what should I get? I'm going to say Master of Reality. I could make an argument for the first one. If it's a drummer, I might go for the first one because side one of the first album is just such a tour de force on Bill Ward's part. But one of the things that those guys were kind of down on Born Again for was the kind of little throwaway instrumentals. And I actually think the little throwaway instrumentals on Born Again are great, and I'll tell you why. Because Black Sabbath's little throwaway instrumentals, like Embryo was a great one, right? So was Orchid, I think it was called, the other one on Master of Reality, right? They're really good at having like these little sort of musical interludes. And like on some of the later Ozzy records, actually not really the later ones, I don't even know if they did that on Technical Ecstasy and Never Say Die. And I listened to Never Say Die again, by the way, because of those guys, and I still think it's a turd. But and that didn't have anything like that on it. But the thing is, they have these little things that are like just sort of like a little thought. You know what I mean? Like I don't think the one between well, actually it works really well. I was thinking of the one between I think it's called Don't Stop Too Late. It's between shit. There's a big piece of shit on here. I gotta clean it off. It's between Hole in the Sky and Symptom of the Universe. Why can it take me so long to think of those song titles? They're only like part of me, you know? And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you're probably not watching this video either, you know what I mean? But, yeah, I think they maintain that on this thing. Like Stonehenge, yeah, it's kind of throwaway, and so is The Dark. But they serve as like these little sort of interludes between the real songs, you know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, maybe it should have been an EP, but I think as far as bringing that aspect back, like that little sort of thing that they had done on the really early records really well, and then kind of jettisoned during the later Ozzy and the Dio years, they brought back on this record in a really kind of cool and interesting way. So I'm on board with it. I think this record would be like a fucking stone cold classic if it were some nobody band, you know? But since it was Black Sabbath, with Ian Gillan no less, it gets all the criticism because they were a fucking wreck when they made the record and all the other good reasons, you know. Anyway, yeah, I've been pretty high on Born Again. I'm playing kind of a lot too. This is Palace of the King now. And fucking, I just love this song so much. This whole record, I just fucking love. There's actually, yeah, this is the second or third time I'm playing this today, and I usually don't play a record more than once in a day. I played it yesterday, though, too, man. I'm fucking going nuts. Because yesterday, actually, this is another thing I was going to talk about. A new thing happened, okay? So if you watch my channel, you know that I mostly go for the old shit, right? Like, relatively recently, I've started getting some of the stoner shit and bands like, well, shit, I mean, I've been playing this, right? I just got this kind of recently. And I'm fucking, what a great record, too, by the way. And, let's see, King Gizzard. I love this record too. There's so many of these. This is Murder of the Universe. King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. Can you read it? I'm trying to keep my fingers off it. Very, very cool record. You know what I mean? It has 10,000 songs on it. Kind of comes off more like sort of a big, long epic than a bunch of disjointed shit, though, but without being up itself particularly. I don't know, man. They just walk that line really well. I'm a little bit unhappy about how much I'm finding myself liking King Gizzard because they are so prolific, and I already have some wrong. I don't need to start buying fucking 10,000 King Gizzard records, you know what I mean? But every time I get one, I fucking really like it, so. But here's the new thing. is I was just kind of down like a couple days ago, right? And you know, I was like, I'm gonna go pull out a comfort record. You know what I mean? And when I'm gonna pull out a comfort record, what do you think I'm gonna pull out? I'm probably gonna pull out something like maybe British Steel, maybe Sad Wings of Destiny, maybe you know, something like that. Maybe like a Deep Purple record. Actually, Deep Purple and rock is a really strong contender because that's such an important record to me anyway. Master of Reality is another one. You know which one I settled on? The one I decided I really wanted to hear to lift my spirits, and it worked. If I can find it. God damn it. The fuck did I do with it, man? Oh, it's right here. This fucking record, which I hyped a lot when I first got into it, man, but this Arrowhead record, Covenant of the Snake, and the reason it's a big deal is because this is the first time, probably since like 1990, that when I wanted like a comfort record, I went and reached for one that had been cut within the last 10 years. Within the last 2 years, in fact. In 2019 is this one. And then I followed it up with Palace of the King, and that's kind of the connection. And after I played this one all the way through and loved it, and it lifted my spirits like I wanted it to, this is the next one I reached for. It was the Palace of the King. And this is the one that I've kind of had on replay, you know? But it's just a weird thing, you know what I mean? Because I have these, we all have our specific favorite bands, right? You know, I mean, I'm not real big on, let's talk about the bands that were my favorite bands when I was in high school. You know what I mean? I'm a lot more like, let's pay our respects to that shit, let's continue to enjoy those records, and let's find new shit, like, from Russia. You know what I mean? I don't know, do we even have any Russian ones here to talk about? No, but here's another little shout out to Marty Worm, because I played this a couple times. You know, it's funny though, because I had that sitting here. I had this sitting here. This would have been a contender, right? What a great record. I had this sitting here. And what did I reach for? I reached for fucking Arrowhead. So that's high praise for Arrowhead. Okay, I love that record. It's like a heavy, hard rock record. It's a lot like this, if you haven't heard it before. So if you have, but if you don't know what it sounds like, go check it out at the very least. And, fuck, man, I mean, they're probably younger than me, and I hope I get to see them on tour one of these days. Just look at that fucking fantastic cover. Anyway, it's just a new thing for me to reach for a record that's so recent and be like, this is what I really need right now. Not just this is what I feel like listening to, but this is what my soul needs right now. You know what I'm saying? Like the difference there? So what else is going on? You know, it's funny. I was kind of probably having trouble putting this together is because I watched. I every so often, like I'll like binge a couple Let's Talk Metal videos at the same time. Alan Coulson's channel. Seriously, subscribe to me if you're not. But he'll show a few things, and I'll be like, "Fuck, I forgot about all those." And that one's great, and these two are crap. But maybe I'm wrong because I haven't played them in a long time, so I'm gonna pull them out again. You know what I mean? So I have all this shit here. Like in the last video of his, he talked about these two, right? I pulled both out. I liked them both a lot more than I remembered. And I shit on the Manimals a lot the last time it came up in conversation. I was pretty gleeful about it. I still don't think this is exactly a 10 out of 10. It's not a great record, but it's a pretty fun record, man. And I played it a couple times and I've enjoyed it. And this one, which I remembered as just being kind of a glammy turd, same deal. It's not great. I mean, you put this against Black Death, and I'll fucking fight you. And Alan did that, so there might be a brawl one of these days. If only anyone other than the two of us gave a shit about either band, right? It's a great band shot, though. But yeah, you know, this isn't bad at all. You know, it's not tremendous, but it's pretty good. It's sincere. Born to be Wild is a terrible choice for a cover, but if you're going to cover Born to be Wild at all, and you're going to be so inconsiderate as to put it in the middle of side one, as opposed to at the end, so it's easier to skip over. Oh, good night, my friend. Then, you know, they really delivered as well as they could have. You know, it's comparable, as far as being a shitty cover, it's probably comparable to Eleanor Rigby on that Realm record. Also crap, and I really don't want to hear it, and I wish it weren't on the record. But if it's going to be there, they really did it about as well as they could. It is not like Eleanor Rigby on the Ethel the Frog record, which is just fucking emetic. So someone told me I need to check this out. Because I've kind of, another band, I've kind of shit on a lot of Sad Iron. Now I love Sad Iron for being hapless and, you know, 5th or 6th rate if Atlan is 4th rate. And, you know, having hilarious song titles like We All Praise the Devil and the chorus to match. But I already had Total Damnation and it is not very good. So someone said, yeah, that unreleased one they just unearthed, the Antichrist, you need to check that out because it's fucking way better. Well, it's not. It is better. I really think it is. I think the songs on this thing are just better, and like it's hard to like point to specific ones, but it just sort of feels a little bit more fully realized. It feels like they were writing real metal songs and like playing them as metal songs. It's not the heaviest thing on the planet or anything, but it's pretty rockin', and it doesn't feel as sort of like they still had a foot in the hard rock and weren't quite committed in the same way like they did on Total Damnation. So this is a good record. It's not a great record. It's a better record than I expected it to be. That's a strong 6 out of 10. I might even give it a 7, you know? But I've probably played this half a dozen times now, and I've got absolutely no beef with it. So, yes, this fucking video flew by, so I'm gonna show just one last one here that I've actually played earlier today and yesterday and kind of left out just to throw everyone for a loop, and that is Fats Domino, man. Because I fucking love Fats Domino. I really do. It's great middle of the night music. And I'll tell you something about Fats Domino. I mean, I spent a good chunk of this video bitching about like hits that are overplayed. I do not get tired of Ain't That a Shame, I'm in Love Again, fucking Blue Monday, I'm Walking, or The Fat Man. But not even Blueberry Hill, which I deliberately saved for last in that little list. So yeah, the deep cuts on here are good. Walking to New Orleans is a good song. And there are a ton of songs on here too, because they're also fucking short. It's like Misfits songs or something like that, you know? Or I guess Ramones songs, because it's about love and not about monsters, right? But I still like the Misfits better, whatever. Anyway, that's just a joke anyway. There's a comp that I'm sure you all have seen around. It's from like 1971, it's United Artists. It's probably all the Fats Domino I need at this point in my life, but I will sit down and listen to 2 records of Fats Domino all the way through and enjoy a lot. So, on that note, if you're going shopping, you're taking a break from Palace of the King, check out a little Fats Domino. Take it from me. All right. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.